Hey guys, good morning. After a long break, once again I am trying to give some technical information regarding the Java. Okay. From today onwards, I am going to conduct some of the interviews, means some of the important questions of Java interviews, right? So, whichever questions I got in my previous interviews, I just collected those interview questions, and I want to just share with you all those questions. So let's start without wasting too much of the time in this. Okay. Let me share my screen and we will go one by one all of this question. Basically, I divided this question according to their what I can say topics, means Java fundamentals, multi-threading, exception handling. Like this, I have divided those questions in that particular manner. So we will start. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm sharing. So here I have kept my interest questions. Okay. So these are the questions I am going to cover. Okay. First question, basically the categories belongs to fundamentals of Java, right? On that particular concept, we are going to see questions. Fundamentals of Java. Up to that, we will go for object-oriented programming. What are the most basic questions asked in the interviews? These questions we are going to understand from this lecture: data structures and algorithms, and after that, multi-threading and exception handling. These are the questions. Only basic questions are there, but these are the most important questions while you are facing the interviews. Okay, so let's start. First question: what is the difference between JDK and GRE? These are the very basic questions. Okay, most often these questions will be asked by the interview to understand your in-depth knowledge about the Java, JDK, and GRE. So the answer of this question is that the JDK Java Development Kit is used by developers for creating Java applications and includes the necessary tools, libraries, and compilers. The JRE Java Runtime Environment is used by end users to run Java application and provide the runtime environment and essential class libraries, but does not include development tools. This is the difference between the JDK and GRE. One more time, you are going to understand what is exactly JDK. The JDK Java Development Kit is used by developers for creating Java applications and includes the necessary tools, libraries, and compilers. And the JRE Java Runtime Environments is used by end users to run Java applications and provide the runtime environment and essential class libraries, but does not include the development tools. This is the first question. Second is, what are the benefits of using Java? These are the below are the benefits of using the Java. First one is a portability. Java code can be run on any platform that has a Java virtual machine. Second one is security. Java has a built-in security model that helps to protect users from malicious code. Third one is object-oriented. Java is an object-oriented programming language which makes it easy to create modular and reusable code. Fourth one is robust. Java is a robust language that is designed to be reliable and efficient. Last one is widely used. Okay. Java is widely used language that has a large community of developers and support resources. These are the benefits of Java. Third question is nothing but what are the different components of the Java platform? The answer of this question is that the Java platform is a software environment that provides a standard way for developing and running Java applications. It consists of the following components. Okay, the first component is Java Virtual Machines, that's called as JVM. Second one is Java Runtime Environment, that is called as JRE. The third one is nothing but Java Development Kit, that is also nothing but JDK. So the fourth question is, what are the different types of Java data types? The answer of this question is there are two types of data types in a Java. First one is primitive data types and second one is non-primitive data types. Primitive data types are Boolean, byte, short, int, long, float, decimal places, double, and char. And non-primitive data types are nothing but strings, array, class, interface, and enum. These are the non-primitive data types. The fifth question is, what are the different types of Java control statements? Basically, as we know, there are three types of control statements in Java. First one, decision making statements, if else, and switch. After that, second one is looping statements, while, do while, and for. These are the looping statements. And the third one is nothing but jump statements. The continue and return. These are the jump statements. These are the three different types of Java control statements. The sixth question is, what are the different types of Java exceptions? There are two types of exception in Java. First one is checked exception and second one is unchecked exception. Basically, checked exceptions are exceptions that must be declared in the method signature. Okay, basically, checked exceptions are the exceptions that must be declared in the method signature. If a checked exception is thrown in a method, the method must either handle the exception or declare it to be thrown. If the method does not handle the exception, the compiler will generate an error. Okay, this is a checked exception. One more time, I am going to read. Checked exceptions are exceptions that must be declared in the method signature. Okay, inside the method signature, we will declare the checked exception. If a checked exception is thrown in a method, okay, if the checked exception is thrown in a method, the method must either handle the exception or declare it to be thrown. Okay, I know you are aware about what is the thrown keywords in a Java exception. If the method does not handle the exception, the compiler will generate an error. Okay, this is the example. Okay, second one is unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are exceptions that do not need to be declared in the method signature. Unchecked exceptions can be thrown by any method, and the compiler will not generate an error if they are not handled. Okay, these are the uh, unchecked exception. Okay, throw. Okay, there are some of the difference between thrown, keyword, right? We will get to know after some time. Seventh question is nothing but what are the different types of Java classes and Java interfaces? Basically, there are two main types of Java classes. One is a normal classes and another is a abstract classes. In normal classes are the most common type of class in Java. They can have fields, methods, and constructs. Abstract classes are classes that cannot be instantiated. This is the basic difference between normal class and abstract class. What is that difference? Abstract classes are classes that cannot be instantiated. They can only be used as base class for other classes. There are also two main types of Java interfaces. Okay, this is a Java, different types of Java classes, and here are the different types of Java interfaces. The first one is a normal interfaces. The normal interfaces are a collection of abstract methods. A class can implement an input interface, thereby inheriting the abstract methods of the interface. And the second one is marker interfaces. Okay, the marker interfaces are the interfaces that do not contain any methods. They are used to indicate that a class has a certain property or a behavior. Okay, this is the marker interfaces. So we have completed 7 question. The next question is, what are the different types of Java libraries and Java frameworks? A Java library is a collection of reusable Java classes and interfaces. A Java library is a collection of reusable Java classes and interfaces. Some examples of Java libraries: Apache Commons, Google, what is that? Goa, Yoda Time, JUnit, Mockito, A Java framework is a collection of reusable Java classes, interfaces, and code that provide specific functionalities. Some examples of Java libraries are Spring, Hibernate, JSF, Rails, Struts. These are the some examples of Java libraries. The ninth question is, what are the different types of Java tools? There are Java tools. Okay. Basically, the question is little there is a wrong. I need to mention here threads, right? What are the different types of a Java threads? There are basically two types of threads in a Java. One is user threads and another is one is daemon threads. User threads are the threads that are created by the user or applications. Okay. User threads are the threads that are created by the user or application. They are high priority threads and the GUM will wait for any user thread to finish its task before terminating it. Okay. Before completing the user threads, GUM till the time will wait. Okay. For terminating it. What is the daemon threads? Okay. Daemon threads are the threads that are created to provide services to user threads. Okay. Whatever user thread, so application threads are available in the GUM, right? So what we can do, it will provide the services to those threads, user threads. They are low priority threads and are only needed while user threads are running. Once all user threads have finished their execution, the JVM will terminate even if there are demo threads still running. Basically, demo threads are the low priority threads. So once the user threads complete its execution, then demo threads are automatically terminated by the JVM. 10th question is nothing but what are the different types of Java networking? There are two main types of Java networking. Okay, this question will not ask, but sometimes you are having a bad luck, then that time it will come. There are two main types of Java networking. First one is client server networking. Basically, is a type of networking where there is a client application that requests a service from a server applications. Okay, client server, right? The server application then provides the service to the client application. I know this is a client and server, the very basic terminology in the software industries. And after that, the second one is peer-to-peer networking. Basically, is a type of networking where two or more applications communicate directly with each other. Peer-to-peer networking means is a type of networking where two or more applications communicate directly with each other without the need for a server. Okay, we are completed the basic fundamental questions from the Java. Now you are moving to object-oriented programming questions. Okay, the first question is what is the difference between procedural programming and OOP? Basically, procedural programming is a top-down approach to programming. Top-down approach, right? Here the program is divided into a series of functions that each perform a specific task. Okay, that is a procedure programming where the program is divided into series of functions, right? And what is the OOP, right? OOP is on the other hand is a bottom-up approach to programming where the program is divided into objects that each represent a real-world entity. This is the major difference between the procedural programming and OOPs, right? What are the core concept of the OOP? The core concepts of the OOP are abstraction. Abstraction is the process of hiding the implementation details of an object from the user. Okay, basically, I want to tell you one thing is that object-oriented programming is basically depends on object only means whatever you are doing in this OOPS concept that is based and depends on that particular object, right? Keeping object in mind, we will do all the necessary work. Okay, that is nothing but OOP concept. This allows the user to focus on the object's functionality without having to worry about how it works. This is an abstraction. After that, encapsulation. Encapsulation is the bundling of data and codes into a single unit, right? This makes it easier to maintain and update the code, and it also makes it more difficult for users to accidentally modify the data encapsulation, right? Sometimes what we can do, we'll make fields as a private, and using the getters and setters method, we can call those particular values, right? The next one is inheritance. Inheritance is the ability of an object to inherit the properties and methods of another object. This allows developers to reuse code and create more complex objects with fewer lines of code. And the last and least one is polymorphism. Polymorphism is the ability of an object to behave differently depending on its context. Okay, this allows developers to write code that is more flexible and easier to maintain. The next question is, what is the difference between overloading and overriding? Basically, overloading and overloading. Overloading refers to the ability to have multiple methods with the same name but different parameters. Overriding refers to the ability to have a method in a subclass that has the same signature as a method in a superclass. Right? I know you all are aware of that overloading and overriding. This is a very, very common questions, right? Sometimes they will ask us to implement the overloading and overriding. What is the difference between static and dynamic binding? Basically, this binding means comes under polymorphism only. So static binding and dynamic binding are two different ways of resolving function calls in an object-oriented programming. Static binding occurs when the compiler determines the method to be called at compile time. Okay, whatever methods we are going to call, that will be JVM, or sorry, compiler will understand at compile time only. Okay, this is the most common type of binding in O, and it is used for both static and non-virtual methods. After that, the dynamic binding occurs when the method to be called is not determined until runtime. Okay, dynamic means that is not able to understand or call that particular function and compiled, right? It will be happen at runtime. So that's we will call it as an dynamic binding. This is used for virtual methods which allows for polymorphism. These are the features static binding and dynamic binding provides. When does binding occurs? Compile time. In dynamic, that is at runtime. Performance is faster, and in dynamic, that is slower. Flexibility, less flexible, more flexible. Error handling, more error prone, less error prone. That is the error handling for both static and dynamic binding. What is the difference between abstract class and interfaces? Here is the table that summarizes the key difference between abstract classes and interfaces. The first feature is can be instantiated. Okay, the class can be instantiated in abstract class. No. Interface. No. Okay, class can have abstract method. Yes, in abstract class, the abstract methods are there. In interface, all the methods are abstract, but after Java 8, the private static defaults method will also be added. Class can have non-abstract methods. Yes, but in interface, no. Before Java 8. Can have state. Yes, but for interface, no. Can be extended by other classes. Yes, but no for interfaces. Can be implemented by other classes. Yes, for abstract class. Yes, for interfaces as well. Why Java doesn't support multiple inheritance? This is the common question. Okay, each and every time, whenever I had given interview for Java, that time I accidentally made with this question. Okay, so Java doesn't suffer multiple inheritance because it can lead to a number of problems, include ambiguity. After that, circular dependencies. After that, the third one is complexity. These problem will arise when we are going to use multiple inheritance. When do we use interface and abstract classes in Java? Okay, abstract class and interfaces we will use in Java Abstract classes are similar to normal classes with the difference that they can include abstract methods, which are methods without a body. Okay, abstract class cannot be instantiated, and interfaces are a kind of code contract which must be implemented by a concrete class. Interfaces cannot have state, whereas the abstract class can have state with instance variable. What are the challenge of using OOP in a Java? Basically, there are some challenges associated with using OOP in a Java. These challenges include complexity. Object-oriented programming can make code more complex, especially when dealing with the large and complex systems. Overhead. Object-oriented programming can add some overhead to code as objects need to be created and managed. Testing. OOP can make code more difficult to test as objects need to be tested in isolation and in combination. Performance. OOP can impact performance as object can add some overhead. As I mentioned, whatever in OOP concept you are going to do, that is above and around with an object. Okay, keeping in mind object only. After that, this is a data structures and algorithms. Sometimes, if your luck is bad, then this type of questions also will come. Okay, the first is what is the difference between array and linked list? This is a very basic questions, right? Maybe it will be asked in a L1 round, right? In general, arrays are a good choice for data structure where the data is accessed frequently. Here, data is accessed frequently and the order of the data is important. Linked lists are a good choice for data structure where the data is inserted or deleted frequently. Okay, accessed frequently or inserted here is in inserted or deleted frequently, and the order of the data is not important. This is the major difference between array and linked list. Data, these are the features. Okay, data storage, contiguous memory, non-contiguous memory for linked list. Access efficiency high, but for linked list low. Insertion deletion efficiency low for array, but high for linked list. Order of data important for array, not important for linked list. Explain the concept of a hash table. This is a very important questions for interview point of view. Okay, so what it is in that a hash table is a data structure that maps keys to values. Okay, it is a very efficient data structure for storing and retrieving the data. This is very efficient data structure for storing and retrieving the data as it can access data in a constant time. There are some of the methods. Okay, put inside that key and values. This method stores the key value pair in the hash table. After that, get. Okay, this method returns the values associated with the key and remove key. This method removes the key value pair from the hash table. The next question is what is the time complexity of various operation in binary search? This question will not come most time, but it is good practice to know. The time complexity of various operation in a binary search tree depends on the height of the tree. The height of the binary search tree is the number of nodes on the longest path. Number of nodes on the longest path from the root node to a leaf node. The following table shows the time complexity of various operation in a base. Okay, this is for search, this is for insert, this is for delete, this is for in order traversal, after that pre-order traversal, and after that post-order traversal. This is the time complexity, right? Then the next question is, describe the difference between breadth first search and depth first search. Sorry, depth first search algorithms. This is also a question will ask, right? While in Java and True, these are questions are common, right? What is the feature explores all nodes at the current level before moving on to the next level. Okay, that is in breadth first search, and in depth first search means as far as possible down one path before tracking. Okay, this is the time complexity. This is the space complexity. Use cases finding the shortest path, finding all of the nodes in a graph that are reachable from a given node. And in a DFS, finding all of the nodes in the graph, finding all the paths between two nodes. The next question is, explain the concept of priority queue and provide an example of its application. A priority key is a data structure that store element along with their associated priorities. It allows efficient retrieval of the element with the highest or lowest priority. The priority determines the order in which elements are proposed or accessed, right? And the example of this one is, a priority queue can be used to schedule tasks in a time critical applications. Each task is assigned a priority. This ensures that the most important tasks are always scheduled first. How you can use this priority queues? This is the example for that. After that, explain the concept of dynamic programming and provide an example problem here. It can be applied. Dynamic programming is a problem solving technique that involves breaking down complex problem into smaller overlapping sub problems and solving them in a bottom up manner. Example, what is that manner? Snap sack problem. In the what is that? Knapsack problem, you are given a set of items each with a weight and a value, and a knapsack with a limited capacity. The goal is to find the subset of items that has the maximum value and that fits in the knapsack. This is the example for that one. After that, how does a hash set work internally in Java? A hash set internally uses hashmap to store its element, right? As we all know, a hash set internally uses a hash map to store its element. When you add an element to a hash set, it first hash using the hash code method. The hash code is then used to find the corresponding bucket in the hash map. If the bucket is empty, the element is added to the bucket. If the bucket is not empty, the element is compared to the other elements in the bucket using the equals method. You know, there is a contact between the hash code and the equals method. That is also important question for the Java point of view. If the elements is equal to any of other elements in the bucket, it is not added to the hash set. What is the time complexity of various operations in the hash table? The time complexity of various operation in the hash table depends on the hash function. The time complexity of various operation in a hash table depends on the hash function used and the number of elements in the hash table. In general, the time complexity of the following operations is insertion, search, deletions. These are the time complexity for various operations in hash table. After that, we are going to check the multi-threading questions. What is the multi-threading and why it is important in Java? Multi-threading is a programming concept that allows multiple tasks to be executed concurrently, right? In a Java, multi-threading is implemented using the thread class. A object represents a single thread of executions. There are many reasons why multi-threading is important in Java. Some of the most important reasons include increased performance, improved responsiveness. The last one is reduced resource uses. The next question is how can you create a thread in Java? How can create a thread in a Java? There are two ways to create a thread in a Java. The first one is the first one is by extending the thread class. The first one is by extending the thread class, and the second one is by implementing the runnable interface. Right? This is a very basic question. This will be not asked, but uh, more how you will implement this. You can write a code. This will question will be asked. The next question is what is the difference between a process and a thread? A process is a program in the executions, right? The process is a program in the execution. It has its own memory space, its own stack, and its own set of resources. A thread is a lightweight process that shares the same memory space and resources as other threads in the same process. Some of the key difference between process and threads. Processes are independent of each other. Processes are heavier than threads. Processes are more difficult to create and manage than threads. Right? These are the some of the key difference between process and threads. How does synchronization work in Java? I explain the concept of synchronized methods and blocks. Okay. This is the question. This is a very important question. Okay. Synchronization in a Java is a mechanism that allows multiple threads to access shared resources safely. When a thread is synchronized on a resource, it is the only thread that can access that resource. This prevents race conditions, which are situations where two or more threads are trying to access the same resource at the same time. There are two ways to synchronize in Java using synchronized methods, using synchronized blocks, right? Synchronized methods, basically, a synchronized methods is a methods that can only be executed by one thread at a time. To declare a method as synchronized, you need to use the synchronized keyword. And the synchronized blocks is nothing but a synchronized block is a block of code that can only be executed by one thread at a time. To declare a block of code as synchronized, you need to use the synchronized keyword and specify the object that this block is on, right? And this is a very important question from intro point of view, right? What is a deadlock and how can it be avoided? A deadlock is a situation where two or more threads are waiting for each other to finish. This can happen when two threads are each trying to acquire a lock on the same resource, right? A deadlock is a situation where two or more threads are waiting for each other to finish. This can happen when two threads are each trying to acquire a lock on the same resource. To avoid deadlocks, we can do this. Avoid using locks unnecessarily. Use locks in a consistent order. Use deadlock detection and prevention tools. The next question is what are the differences between the thread class and the runnable interface in Java? The thread the thread class is a concrete class, while the runnable interface is an abstract interface. This means that you can create a new thread by extending the thread class, or you can create a new thread by implementing the runnable interface. The key difference between the thread class and the runnable interfaces are with the features type concrete class, thread class, and runnable interface is an abstract interface. Inheritance can be extended, cannot be extended. Implementation must override the run method, must implement the run method. Memory uses, more memory is required. And memory is required and less memory is required for interface. Flexibility, less flexible, more flexible. The next question is what is the purpose of the volatile keyword in the Java? This is a very important question in the Java interpreter. The volatile keyword is used to ensure that all threads see the same value of a variable, right? Even if the value is changed by another thread, the value is changed by another thread, right? The next question is explain the difference between primi- primitive scheduling and time slicing. The next question is explain the difference between the primitive scheduling and the time slicing in the context of thread scheduling. Okay. Preemptive scheduling is when the operating system can forcibly remove a thread from the CPU and give it to another thread. Okay, basically preemptive scheduling means this operating system, what can it do? It forcefully remove a thread from the CPU and give it to another thread. The time slicing is when each thread is given a certain amount of time to run on the CPU. Okay, these are the main difference, right? The main difference is the preemptive scheduling. The operating system can interrupt a thread at any time, right? The main difference is that in preemptive scheduling, the operating system can interrupt a thread at any time, while in time slicing, the thread is only interrupted when it has used up its allotted time. Right? This is the difference between the preemptive scheduling and the time slicing. The last model of our today's agenda, the exception handling. What is the exception handling in Java and why is exception handling is important? So, so in Java, exception handling is an event. In Java, an exception is an event that occurs during the execution of a program that disrupts the normal flow of instructions. It is an object which is thrown at runtime. Here are some of the benefits of exception handling. Prevents programs crashes, allows you to recover from errors, provides information about the error, makes your code more robust, makes your code easier to read and understand. The second question from this module, how does Java handle exceptions? I think each and everyone know about this question, but sometimes you are not able to what you can make a sentence for this question, right? Java handles exceptions by using the mechanism called exception propagation. Okay, Java handles exception by using a mechanism called exception propagation. When an exception is thrown, it is propagated up the call stack until it's caught, right? If the exception is not caught, the program will crash, right? The method might throw an exception, handle the exception here, do something you are calling here. Okay, when you call this, that will come to here. Here something will happen, then it will go back to here, and from that, if you are handling the exception, then it will handle properly. Otherwise, it will throw error. Describe the try catch finally block and its purpose in exception handling. The try catch finally block is a Java syntax that allows you to handle exception gracefully. It consists of three parts: the try block, the catch block, the finally block. Here are some of the benefits of using try catch finally block. Prevents prevents program caches, allow you to recover from errors, provides information about the error, makes your codes more robust, makes your code easier to read and understand. What is the difference between the throw and throws keyword in Java? These are the keyword, very, very important keywords in a Java. The throw and throws keyword in Java are used to handle exception. The throw keyword is used to explicitly throw an exception. Throw. Basically, we will use the throw keyword where throw new, right? You'll throw with the new object of exception, whatever it may be. And throws keyword is used to declare that a method can throw an exception, right? This will be used with the method signature, and this will use it inside the method. How can you create custom exceptions in a Java? Okay, if you want to create a custom exception in a Java, we need to extend exception main class, right? To create a custom exception in a Java, you need to create a class that extends the exception class. The custom exception class can have its own constructor, methods, and fields. This is the example for that, right? This is the example for that. So we have covered all of the important and basic Java questions. In the next video, we will cover more intermediate questions, right? We will cover intermediate questions, right? Going forward, I will take more moderate level also and hard level also. Java, Spring Boot, right? Microservices. These questions I will cover. So for today, it's done, right? I just want to give some information. Actually, my laptop is not with me for more than 6 months, so that's why I'm not able to share any technical related stuffs over my channel. So I just got my laptop from today onwards. So I am started as a part of learning, myself learning, I am doing these things. With learning this, I will also share the information with you, right? If you need any other subject or any other uh, related to Java or frameworks and any other microservices architecture, any other interview questions, so please comment, right? Please subscribe my channel, like it, share it with your friends. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching my video. Bye.